This is Changemakers with Katie Gore, finding the right solutions for the affordable housing community.
Welcome back to part 2 of my interview with Robert Pinnegar, the president and CEO of the National Apartment Association. In part 1, we talked about how affordable housing has become one of the biggest problems facing our nation today and how his team has pivoted during this pandemic. But let's talk about your prior experience and how you've brought that into running the NAA.
My prior experience, I was involved working as a member of Congress and a city council member, a couple city council members. The thing that I enjoy about this position, having the foot in both worlds of the association space and the traditional things you do, as well as the industry you work with and for, understanding people, what their motivations are, and really to how you work with people to build consensus. The industry is, well, it's not a huge industry, it's a very diverse industry with a lot of different personalities, a lot of product types, and bringing everybody together to have consensus to accomplish things is really the part of the job that I truly enjoy, because I think we can do so much more collectively than we can individually.
Well, and that actually leads into your management style and, how you are running the apartment association, how you're interacting with its members, how you're advancing, affordable housing and being an advocate. So just give us a glimpse of what that looks like.
Typically I'm the one that's bouncing around the office talking to everybody because I want to understand what they're dealing with, what the issues are. A little more challenging in this environment because you can't just do that because people aren't there. But it's really having conversations with people to understand where their problems are, to understand what the challenges are, to understand what they like and what they don't like. And I think from that, then it's putting together what are goals and what do we want to accomplish. Then you need to be really honest and set timelines and deliverables to those things and re-examine them on a regular basis. If we're not achieving something, why aren't we achieving it? Why aren't we achieving it? If it is because we had a crazy goal to begin with, the environment's changed that we're working in, then maybe we need to revise that. What's the classic thing? You do a strategic plan, you put it on the shelf, and you reevaluate it 5 years later to see once you've dusted it off to see what it said. We went through a strategic planning process when I came to the position here, and we've actually made that a living, breathing part of the organization. It's part of the goals that we establish for the various departments and the organization as a whole. We measure how successful we are against it. We may not achieve everything in it, but we should achieve as much as we possibly can.
One of the things that I've done as a president of Quadell here is, every single one of my staff can all tell me why they got into working in affordable housing. One of the things I've done is I've had each of them annually go through and write a passion statement to remember why they got into affordable housing, to remember why they stay working in this arena, and to really embrace that passion to be able to keep them engaged, keep them moving forward, keep them thinking new things and trends and accepting things. And it's one of the best ways to actually take a management practice and take your management style and reinvigorate your own employees. And I find that people who are working in affordable housing, we all agree there's a need. Nobody sits back and says, yeah, I'm not so sure it's still needed. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, in the face of the shortages and in the face of such dire need, nobody does that. And so you have a group of people who are so mission focused on the same mission. And so it's like we just have to come together with that common voice and figure out and map out remedies. And what you've described here is going through the strategy of that and keeping your team to be able to stay focused on working the strategy and creating the remedies. There's a study that's out there, and I know that your team has focused on this as well. But in 2017, Harvard's joint study for Housing Studies, their Joint Center for Housing Studies reported about 38 million American households spent more than 30% of their income to pay for housing. And more than half of that, about 20 million, 21 million or so, were renters. And so you look at, everybody agrees on the need, right? Everybody agrees for the need for affordability, agrees that there's this crisis on availability. And what's so unique about what you guys are doing as an association is that, not only are you a strong advocate for expanding, trying to increase availability, but you guys are a strong advocate for direct housing assistance to renters. Talk to me why you have put this in your strategy and why you've put this in your platform.
I mean, it's because we've had conversations about it. And after Katrina, for example, where you have a natural disaster, if somebody needed a voucher, needed assistance with making their rent payments, they received a voucher, which then could be presented to the owner or to the manager, and their rent was paid. It freed them up from having to worry about housing, and they had other more pressing issues they were dealing with. I was watching the national news, and I knew it was going to come. It was just a matter of time. The national news, and talking about the increase in the price of eggs and the price of milk, the uncertainties of our food supply system, which goes back to the fact that at least let's get, we've created programs out there that through the unemployment insurance and through the stimulus that are there to assist the consumers. But we really haven't addressed those who are in rental housing. And we have, in the last 10 years, something like 19.1 million new people have come to rental housing. And some of those are millennials that have graduated from college and now Gen Z. And some of those are baby boomers who have decided they're going to downsize. But we also have a sizable population that are in jobs that they simply are having a struggle making ends meet. And as we said, and in this kind of an environment, this kind of situation, what I worry about is the safety net that we have is just not going to be big enough to get us through this. And we need to have a subsidy program to assist those people who have been impacted by COVID until they can get on their feet. Because the economists have talked about the V, the U, the W, the Nike swoosh, and where everybody was confident it was going to be a quick V recovery. I think that's largely gone now. Now it's the U, but for how long? Last Friday, I was on a webinar with one of the groups that works with the industry, does a lot of research and helps people through a number of business situations. And they were saying that they anticipated, and this is a positive, very optimistic assumption, that 1/3 of the unemployed will go to work, back to work this summer. And then another third will be employed by the end of the year. But a third of the people who are currently unemployed, their unemployment will last into 2021. But they were very specific about saying that if that is to be the case, that the economy needs to begin ramping up and get moving before we get into August, because once we get into August, the stimulus dollars are going to disappear, and then we're truly going to fall off a cliff from an economic standpoint. That's why Congress is looking at this next round of stimulus. I think that they understand the full weight of what's going on and what sits in front of us. My hope is that through these stimulus dollars and the stimulus spending, that they're going to keep us stabilized so we will be able to come back on the other side of this.
Bobby, you have just mentioned we've all known in affordable housing for so long, and the links between stable housing and economic vitality is so crucial for communities. And you feel that even more in a national emergency, whatever the root cause is. And so you've really laid out here groundwork for trying to find out, what can we do? What can we provide? Can we get the vouchers in the hands of the neediest? Can we streamline where we need to go? Can we use technology? And you've really laid out some pretty steep marching orders, but they're attainable. And you have a group of professionals who have been working in this space And we have been leveraging innovative resources. We have a lot of strategic partnerships in place. And so now getting those public policy pieces to fit and match the funding is really going to be able to make this nation move forward in an effective manner. So thank you for putting the roadmap out there for us. And Quadell, we appreciate, just along with many of our other affordable housing participants and our partners in this industry, and we really appreciate what the National Apartment Association is doing and how you guys are leading us as one of the premier resources for the rental housing industry. So thank you for your time, Bob. Kudos to your staff, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. I really have enjoyed it. You've made me realize just how much work I have sitting on my computer and my desk in front of me here all over again. But no,
Exactly.
it has been great. And when we can, it's good to meet you virtually. And when we're all back up and able to travel again, I hope that we actually get to meet in person.
Yes, we will do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Changemakers with Katie Gore. To find out more about Katie, go to quadell.com. That's QUADEL.com. This has been a production of Forbes Books Radio.